I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. So do you want to tell us what you did to your headphones here while I was gone?
So this guy left me alone for a month, and so I started bedazzling things.
He snuck into my house.
I did not sneak in. I was invited by your sister / roommate.
By Benedict Arnold.
No, it's
by
not
Benedict
a big deal.
Cumberbatch.
So, by Bumblebee Cumbersnatch.
Yeah, Bumblebee Cumbersnatch over here is letting you into my apartment.
We need to do an episode of just like 30 minutes of the Benedict Cumberbatch name generator.
I'm about it.
I'm dead. Okay. But yeah, no, well, actually, I knew from day one that I was going to do this.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Why didn't you even ask me?
Well, why would I? I paid for it.
Yeah. All right.
But
this is the beginning of a great friendship here.
Yeah. So, future reference, we're checking in with each other for everything in the future. You let me know when I can't take things and why, and then I won't.
Well, the best part is that you didn't even take it. You just took over it.
Well, no, I didn't. I took it to my apartment one night. I think it was like the second night after you left because all this finally came from Amazon.
Oh, wow. You had ordered it?
I ordered it, but I ordered
and
the
you didn't tell me?
And stuff before.
So for those...
Before we even ordered the equipment, I had ordered all of this.
I just realized that I haven't explained to those who are listening as opposed to watching us. Benji's headphones, mic, and mic stand are entirely bedazzled.
Pink rhinestones, y'all.
In case you didn't know which podcast you were listening to,
yeah.
You do now.
On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
And we have pink everywhere.
But, yeah, no, I wanted it to be a surprise, which I'm kind of sad that Grace Lipton said something because I didn't tell her not to. But, like, I wanted to, like, see your face when you were like, what? I figured you'd be a little bit hesitant to like it anyways, but
it's grown on me a little bit.
I have to do this.
Well, I guess that's a good starter. For those of you just tuning in, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
And I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Oh, we're going to love that every time.
Can we not do it so gross every time?
No.
I'm already over it.
No, that's absolutely going to be our thing.
I'm going to stop.
Until people complain about it, in which case I'll do it even harder.
I have already complained about it. Like, I already hate it.
So as Benji was mentioning, though, I was out of town for about a month.
You were out of town for about a month while I was doing this work.
You're up to shenanigans, no good. Do you want to tell? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'll tell what you were doing. He was out working Coachella. So
I was.
He was like
and
over
stagecoach
there bringing popsicles to.
Is that what you think my job was out there?
I really don't know.
Honestly, there was popsicles there.
Yeah, it was like I know you come home with treats.
We didn't traffic though in frozen goods as much, just because
you're in the middle of the desert.
In the middle of the hottest desert. Well, I don't know if it's the hottest. No, let me briefly explain because it does lead into what we're our subject. I work hospitality, which is, if you don't know what that is, we bring the alcohol, we bring the food, we bring the booze to
I totally thought hospitality was like somebody hurts themselves and you have to like nurse them back to health.
No, we are in charge of bringing the hospitableness to those who are
hospitable to people.
Partaking in our festival. So I do a few festivals like this. I worked FYF before it was destroyed by...
And what is that? Destroyed by what?
Well, the founder of FYF, I learned, was one of the Me Too.
Oh, and so what does FYF stand for?
Fuck Yeah Fest.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny because nobody at the festival even knew what it stood for.
Really? They just...
Yeah, I was like, the Fuck Yeah Fest. Sorry, Mom. And they were like, what's that? And I was like, that's the festival we're working at. I was like, I know nothing. I know next to nothing about the music industry, and how do I know that?
Well, because you paid attention to it. You like do research and stuff like that?
For things I do research a little bit.
Some people.
Not pointing fingers.
Not pointing fingers.
For those of you listening, not pointing fingers.
Pointing straight at me. Just show up and say, hey, where do you want me?
That's absolutely the case. But, it's what makes you lovable.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked hospitality at Coachella. No, I'm not going to spill any juicy stories about the celebrities I met. I didn't meet that many.
I was like, well, I'll spill them because he told them all to me. Now, number
one. I did not get to meet Ariana. The only artist I actually got to see in his entirety was Childish Gambino.
Childish this year?
Yes, this year.
Okay, nice.
Last year, the year of the Bay.
Oh my
the
god.
The year of Queen Bee, Baychella. I only got to catch like about 20 minutes of her historic her historic
of
set.
Her homecoming.
Oh. Which I've been watching that. Have you even seen any of the documentary yet?
I'm waiting for the exact perfect time in my life to sit down and enjoy it.
So it's a doozy of a. It's so long. I mean, her set was 2 hours. That's a long
Literally,
time.
like when I heard
performing.
that, it like brought like just I don't know, love to my heart. It brought happiness to
because
me,
of what she did.
knowing that it will be 2 hours long. That I have 2 hours of Beyonce.
Well, it's not just 2 hours.
Live.
It's 2 hours of her performing
2 hours
plus like little moments in between, which is it's phenomenal so far. But every time I think I'm like halfway through it, I'll pause and be like, "Are you kidding me? Are you joking my ass? This thing is like barely
I'm
there."
so there for it because like the Hannah Montana concert, the Hannah Montana Meet Miley Cyrus Best of Both Worlds tour.
I've definitely seen that.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, I went to that concert. It was actually the first concert I've ever been to. And at the end of it, they had a survey, and they were like, "How would you like to see this reproduced? Do you want like a live CD? Do you want like a DVD?
They asked you that?
Like, yeah, like
they cared.
They gave like surveys to everybody
Nice.
to fill out. So I was like, I want a DVD. So like DVD came out like months later, a year later, I don't know. And I was like super excited, and like it only had like half of the songs on it. Like,
whoa,
if that.
Are you joking me?
And then it had like the
is no bueno.
behind the scenes and stuff. And I was like, that's cool, but also like show me the whole concert.
Yeah.
Like same with the Glee concert, the same thing. I didn't go to that one, but like
Beyonce, she goes
said,
all in.
You are gonna see everything, and I love that about her.
And I'm really glad, like the 2 years I've gone to Coachella, both I've worked. So, I haven't just been out there in the whole sweaty crowd. I've been in the back with the sweaty, with sweaty workers. We're busting our ass to make sure you guys enjoy yourselves. But it's funny because I've been able to experience like two kind of like really different years in Coachella. Things that they weren't the norm. I mean, I didn't even know this, but Beyonce was supposed to be the first female headliner.
Really?
Of that festival in the 20 years it's been around.
That's crazy.
She wasn't because she got pregnant. Well, I don't know if she got pregnant or the pregnancy just turned out to be too intense. I don't follow her exactly.
So was she the first of that year?
She was the first black female performer.
Who was the first female?
First female was Lady Gaga. She actually replaced her in 2000 and last year was 2018. She replaced her in 2017.
Oh, okay.
So she was supposed to be not only the first black female headliner, but just
female in general.
First female headliner in general. And ever since Beyonce was, this was something I read, ever since Beyonce was announced as the first female headliner, there has been a female headliner ever since.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ever since being 3 years, but that's still.
Yeah, that's good.
It's very significant.
Because it probably just switched, like it was going to be Beyonce, Gaga, then it was like, so then it just switched to Gaga, Beyonce.
Who knows what it was going to be.
And then it was Ari this year.
It was. Which
she was the headliner, right? Like,
yeah, she was the headliner. She was the headliner of the third day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like final headliner closing the show.
Closing it out.
That's my girl.
I didn't get to see her at all.
Yeah,
I didn't
sorry.
watch any. No,
I'm sorry that you missed it, but I also think it's very important to our friendship that you missed it.
Why? What would you have?
If you had seen it and I hadn't, we would have had problems.
God. You are the worst. You are so petty. I don't think the audience is prepared for how petty you are.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess we should get into the theme of this. Literally, we just did the exact thing I told
not to do is to go off on bunny
trails. But this is the experience. See, I've listened to podcasts before where they talk for like 20 minutes on like nothing to do with the subject at hand.
We're still in there.
This is kind of like, I mean, we're going to be talking about a specific film that I saw at Coachella, so I figured it was necessary to kind of lay the foundation.
Talking about Coachella.
Yeah.
So, what was the film?
The film was Guava Island.
Guava Island.
That was the film that I saw. It was released on April 11th, 2019.
Awesome. That's enough of that.
You don't like my radio voice?
No. I don't like it when I'm not a part of it because I'm like, I can't hop in on this because I didn't see it. Well, I didn't. I don't have the.
We did literally just watch it.
I don't have the show notes. So.
Oh, I mean, you can kind of stare over it.
I can, but I don't like reading.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. No, so the film is Guava Island. I was totally in the dark. I don't even know how I found out about it, but I'm working this festival, and one thing led to another. A little birdie told me, hey, did you know that Childish Gambino, a.k.a. Donald Glover, premiered a film. He had an entire theater built at the festival.
Oh my gosh.
To showcase this movie that nobody knew was coming.
Yeah.
But
some people did.
Some people did know it. I was not one of those people.
Yeah.
I was not privy to that, even though I'm a huge fan of Donald Glover. And I've been following Hiro Murai, who is the director. He was the one who directed This Is America, which was a phenomenal music video. And he directs the majority of the episodes for Atlanta. So.
Okay.
Which, have you ever caught Atlanta?
No.
It's a really good show.
I've seen, I think, like 2 or 3 episodes.
I don't know if it's exactly your, like.
It's not.
It's very melancholy, very weird, very dark, and a lot of people, it's sad.
Yeah. So you said you saw all of his set. Yes,
I did see all of his set, and what was interesting was kind of like the interplay between the film that he premiered there and his set and how he performed on stage. You can tell that I mean, if you've ever like read any of the articles or like seen any of his interviews, you know that he's a really intelligent person. Like, almost too intelligent. Like he's probably super depressed because of how intelligent he is. And so
let me tell you, intelligence is just gonna make you sad.
Be dumb, guys. It makes life so much happier.
Makes life worth living.
No, so he plays kind of with the norm. He'll take what you kind of are expecting, and he turns that on its head a little bit. So even his performance at Coachella was very. I mean, like I said, I've only been there 2 years, and that was actually the first full set I'd ever watched. Honestly, at any of the festivals I've ever worked at, that I stayed there for about like an hour, which, oh my God, like I honestly every 5 seconds was like, am I gonna get fired? Am I gonna get fired?
I know, right?
Get fired. But I had told them that I was gonna do that, so it was like I kind of like
cool.
I cashed in all my good karma chips.
You're like, I'm gonna watch
him.
this whole set, and then I won't do anything else that you guys might think is bad.
Exactly. No, so I got to watch him. And even though I really had not a lot to compare it to, I was watching. I was just like, this is kind of different, you know. He's very interactive with the audience. And this was, by the way, week 2. He did a few more things on week 1, but week 2 he took a selfie with one of the people in the crowd, a woman.
Really?
Oh
That's fine.
God, I wrote her name down. And I can't remember. It was something funny. It was a unique name. It's not like Rhonda.
And the like audience?
Yeah.
Oh, so he like stopped and like got her name, took a selfie and everything?
Yeah, he like introduced himself to her. And what was the most interesting aspect about this whole event was that the camera that was on him, I mean, it was a good looking camera. Like I'm watching it on these 2 giant screens that are bookending the stage. But he's already walked down the stage. He's walked to the front of house. He's found himself in between kind of like the tunnels that they have and the cages that block off all of the audience, and he's like right there, right on the edge of the cage, and he's introducing himself to this woman. He's taking a selfie with her.
Was she hot? Was he like charcoal?
No. See, and that okay. Oh, that sounded really bad. I actually wanted to mention that, but I was trying to figure out how to say it without sounding like
she's
an
not
a-hole.
even super attractive.
She was just a normal person.
Yeah,
and I think she was like kind of she was either in her late 30s, maybe 40s.
Well, he's in his late 30s, so that's prime time for him.
Either way, it's like it wasn't like he picked out the most model hot woman.
It was like, hey baby, take a picture with me.
Which I feel like that is sounding really assholey, and that's not how I wanted it to sound. It just was like I was impressed because I was like, oh, he actually took a moment to meet a real person,
just an average fan.
Yeah, not. It wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna go sleep with this person. I mean, I don't know his preferences. He probably could. It was like, hey, babe.
Yeah, you know? I don't know his relationship status either. He could be married with 2 kids for all I know.
He does have. He has not a wife, but a girlfriend. They were there actually at Coachella. Oh. He doesn't necessarily believe in marriage, from what I which is funny because he at one point was going to be a wedding planner.
Really?
Yeah,
that's funny.
He was going to Matthew McConaughey his way into people's hearts. Oh wait, was he though? No, she was the wedding planner.
Yeah, I was like, Matthew McConaughey was never a wedding planner.
No, but he was in that movie.
He was
with
in
Jennifer
the movie.
Lopez.
Yeah, Jennifer Lopez was.
But during this whole thing, while this is all going on, the camera is on him, and it felt like I was watching this really weird experimental film at Coachella, which was kind of like a weird thing. It's like, I mean, people paid to see a performance on stage. And what they got was like a good 10 minutes of like kind of this weird behind the scenes like film that wasn't even happening on stage. It's like, it was kind of one of those things where I'm like, I wonder if people appreciate what he does.
I'm sure, obviously, if they're his fans, they do. Because that's like when I see things that I don't understand from different artists, I'm like, well, you have your fan base that expects and necessarily not even like they expect specific things, but they expect to be surprised by you. They expect to see like they should
at least.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is the one interesting thing about kind of like the rap culture in general. What I'm slowly learning, I didn't grow up really liking rap or hip hop that much, but what I've started learning is like it is embraced by culture, but it's kind of like
not.
No, it's naively embraced by culture. Like a lot of people who embrace it don't necessarily understand kind of the background to it. And so they kind of like they take what they want, but they don't realize that like you're getting the whole thing. It's like saying I like Reese's peanut butter cups, but I don't like peanut butter. You're just like,
then what are you doing?
You know, and it's like they embrace certain aspects of these artists because it's kind of cool. Yeah. You know, it's like it's the thing to do culturally. Like, oh yeah, man, I sing this song, bro. But then then you're embracing like the full package. And a lot of times I can imagine like people out there, they were singing "This Is America," and I'm like, do you guys like
get the point?
Do you get the point of what this song is? I'm not sure. This is the song that you're like, yeah. This is America. It's a song that I love.
Yeah.
And of course, but every time I sing it, I have to have that conversation with myself internally too. It's like,
do you get it?
Do I get it? Do I remember what he was trying to say with this? Mm-hmm. Don't just be singing and be like, la-di-da.
I was like, yeah, that's definitely not the kind of song you just start playing and you're like, yeah this is America.
But
this
I would
is my
say
song.
Like, I was thinking that though when I'm watching the crowd, I'm like, it's interesting to wonder like when someone plays with expectations. You're right. His real fan base, people who actually are fans, it shouldn't. It's like, oh yeah, I expected this of him. Mm-hmm. When he apparently he led out the first week, it was really funny. I didn't catch this. I only saw what he said the second week, but he said something along the lines of, it's very easy that one of you people in this audience is not going to make it to next week, because he was talking about like life, death. He was really depressed, and he dropped that on the Coachella crowd, and they were like.
Okay.
So then the next week he kind of almost had to do damage control. He was like, hey guys, look, I know I said kind of a bummer thing, but like
also
he's like, but that's the beauty of life, is like we're all here sharing this moment. It's been a second, but that was essentially kind of what he said. But it's like, honestly, if you've been following him, which I had been, I wasn't shocked when I read about that. I was like, yeah, he's kind of depressed. Like I don't know if you remember that Instagram post he did like right before he closed his account. It was like, I don't know if it was a suicide note, but it was like really intense about what he was going through. And people were like shook. I was shook because that was the first time I had known about it. Anyway, the point is like, this is a guy who thinks deeply and does things that are just not just not normal, not expected.
They're not the stereotypical like, oh, like I'm a star now, I'm gonna do this,
right?
Like I'm gonna go on a TV show, like I'm gonna dance with the stars. Actually, that's what you do.
If I ever saw Donald Glover do Dancing with the Stars, I'd be like,
kill it. He would kill it.
Well, he would kill it, but it would be like, why did you do that? Like you are way above that. But you're right. Like I felt like the people who are actually fans of his, they would embrace it. Yeah. And then the rest of the audience is like, what? I just wanted to hear "This Is America" again. Like.
So let's talk about this movie. It's called Guava Island.
It's called Guava Island, and like I said, it was directed by Hiro Murai. It was written by Stephen Glover.
Yeah, that's his brother.
Yes, his brother. Something interesting about them, I was reading an article once where he, they were both raised Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, fine.
So they were raised Jehovah's Witness.
His birthday's 2 days after mine. That's weird.
You didn't know? Oh, wow.
I think I did know that, actually.
So he was raised Jehovah's Witness.
Which they're not allowed to celebrate any parties.
No. So he is kind of openly said that even though he had a rough upbringing in terms of like racial, he's actually openly said that his brother kind of fits the bill more for what people would look at and biasly go, ooh, that is a whatever bigoted thing they want to say. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times he mentions how like it's through the lens of his brother, who looks more intense, that he kind of will like tackle some of these stories, because he would be the type of person that if we were still saying like, oh, you're not really black, you're white, that's what they would say
it to. Yeah,
you would say that to Donald. You wouldn't say that to his brother.
Yeah, which is his brother older or younger? Do we know?
I think it's his younger brother.
Okay,
that I didn't remember. But this is the kind of the person, they work a lot together, and that's kind of one of the things that he brings, is where like he kind of dealt with the more like, what am I doing with my life? From what I've heard, Steven was like the one who kind of like was thrown more of the stereotypical issues that someone that young is dealing with in this country. And it's you can see kind of like that embracing in shows like Atlanta and even Guava Island to an extent, where they're talking about kind of the lower, or the people who are forced to be the lower class. In fact, that's actually what the film is literally about, is like the lower class embracing what they do have, as opposed to what people are trying to take from them. So it is starring
Donald Glover,
a.k.a. Childish Gambino,
a.k.a. Troy Barnes.
And it's barely starring Rihanna.
Barely starring. She's like literally in every scene.
No, she's great. Like, I loved her in this.
Yeah,
I loved her. It's a shame she didn't sing, but
oh yeah, she didn't.
No,
but it was
like a pleasure to have her, honestly.
It was like nice to see her. She, at the end of the movie, she was slaying in that blue outfit.
My God.
Let me tell you. I was
Gili, a Nigerian Gili, I believe, is what it's called. It is beautiful.
Yeah,
she looked, when she came out on screen, I was like,
I'm like, no, girl. I mean, like, I don't want to ruin anything, but we're about to talk about
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. I was like, I know we're at a funeral, but damn, you killing these niggas. I was like, damn, you slaying, girl.
What? It's true, though. She looked so fire.
She looked good.
Even though she was dressed in blue. Yeah, dang. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, sorry.
That's fine. Honestly,
we're
like, if someone came to this before seeing Guava Island, like,
yeah, definitely watch it first.
This is one of those films, like, you either experience it or you don't.
It's not even an hour long. It's 55 minutes. Like, you'll be fine.
So it stars Don Glover, Rihanna, Nonso Anose, who is from Game of Thrones.
He's from Game of Thrones.
And a few other things. And Letitia Wright, who we all know as Shuri from Black Panther. I'm going to give a brief summary of this episode, probably like, 30 minutes into ours. I'm going to give a brief summary. So Danny Maroon, who's played by Gambino.
Childish.
You know, it's funny because it says a film by Childish Gambino. Yeah. So I'm just going to refer
Childish
to him.
Glover, Donald Gambino.
This film is a Gambino film. It's definitely not a Donald Glover film.
Okay. Does he have two different labels that he uses?
Well, it's his persona that he's on stage with. So Danny Maroon is a local celebrity on the fictional island of Guava. He wishes to unite the locals by throwing them a music festival. Unfortunately, the capitalistic employer Red, who is played by Anose, it threatens to cancel the festival for fear the people of Guava will be too tired to work.
It's very simple.
I was about to say, though, tell me, does that not sound like the plot to a Disney?
It does, because it seems like just saying that kind of seems like there's no stakes to it,
right?
And there like is.
There are stakes, but like if you were to say that, it's like, the one of the characters just wants to sing, but the bad guy doesn't want him to sing.
He wants everybody to work.
Tune into Guava Island on Disney Channel.
9/8 Central. Let's watch a Disney Channel movie.
It's straight up. I know a lot of people complained, like every other person I asked about this film, what they thought about it, the ones who like saw it at Coachella. Mm-hmm. They would either say they loved it and they were super vibing with it. This movie was a hit with people who are high.
Yeah, okay.
Let me tell you. But everyone else was like, there was no plot. I'm like, all right, well there
was a plot. I saw the plot. It's just,
I like to wave at it as it passes by.
I just like not. Just are we doing initial thoughts later or now?
We'll do initial thoughts. Well, I've already given away the summary. It says no spoilers, but. Okay, I guess we've already done spoilers. What were your thoughts?
So, initially, when I saw the preview, I thought that it doesn't look like my kind of movie.
Right.
Because, clearly. And then after watching the movie, I realized that it's not my kind of movie.
Oh, how I hate you.
So, yeah, I didn't really like it.
You didn't like it?
Yeah, no. So... but I got what was
we'll see if I can change your mind on that.
You won't.
Well, we'll see.
It's just not a movie that I would ever watch again.
I didn't think. So why don't I set up how I saw it? First off,
well, you saw it at Coachella, right?
I did see it at Coachella, but it was not easy to see it at Coachella because where I worked was right by main stage, and where the theater had been set up was on the complete opposite side in camping.
Fine.
And I had little to no time to ever, we were working 16-hour days. If I was doing anything other than working, it was sleeping. So I was sleeping usually. I mean, it was a miracle that I even got to make Kanye's Sunday service. This was week 1 that I did this, so I hadn't yet caught Gambino's set. So I'm once again cashing in my karma chips to see if I can. Literally, the only time I took
those
away
chips in a few times, but
I did. It's a good thing my boss loves me.
I was about to say.
I ran across. I literally. I drove as far as I could, but they could not. They didn't allow you to drive any further because it was literally through the crowds of people. So I parked my the golf cart and then I just ran.
Yeah,
I
so probably moved a little faster than you did in the golf cart anyway.
I was running so fast through all these crowds of people because I had to catch. It was the only showing I could catch before. It was during the lull of the whole event. It's you're not really getting called in as much. So I was just I gotta make it. And I'm running with my food in my hand.
Because you gotta have your food.
I had to have food. And I'm running to this theater and I get there and on the outside it's this circular theater. It looks like a like one of those omnidomes.
Yeah, like the Coliseum.
And it's painted red because, reasons you'll know if you watch the movie.
Okay.
It's painted red. On the inside, what you didn't realize was the cargo shit, like the cargo crates that you see in all those movies. It was made up of those cargo crates.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like stacked with crates, and it was in this circular, like you enter into the theater and you go in this like circular motion into the center of the theater. And while you're doing that, like the crates are decorated with like leaves and foliage, and there's like mist coming up out of the bottom of them. It was an experience.
That's
then
intense.
You go inside into the center.
Did you have videos of it?
I have some videos. I think I might show them.
Cool.
We'll see.
Yeah.
You can look it up online.
Some videos. Watch the video version of this because we will clip in some of this shit.
Yeah. No promises, but yeah.
No promises.
And what was really cool was you get in and there's no seats. It's just like a grass little fake grass hill that they have, and the film's being projected. And it's funny because like at first when you walk in, you think this is kind of a waste because the film was shot. It was like shot on 16mm film.
That was my question too.
And I think it was 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's just a box, and you're looking at this giant screen, and you're like, all right,
but it's like a tiny box. And there's like zero quality.
Yeah, like why is it? That's what you think at first. Turns out that they had two projectors. One was projecting the film, and the other one was projecting animation that at certain moments of the film would open up on the rest of the theater.
Oh.
So at specific moments in the film, the theater would light up with animation on the side.
Weird. Okay, I was like, wait, what?
And it was at that moment, it was at a specific moment in the movie when that happened that I was like, oh, it's unfortunate because this isn't an experience that. And one of the reasons why I knew I had to go there instead of just watching it on Amazon Prime, this was an experience that nobody else will ever get to have.
Yeah.
And it was something that it's kind of like, is it a film? Is it a visual album?
I don't know, because there is some singing.
I mean, yeah, but it felt for me more like it was just an experience.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of how I feel. I don't think it was really supposed to be either.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
It was amazing experience for me, even though it was like at the time an empty theater because it was like the 6:30 showing. It was
so people had better shit to do.
They had way better shit to do,
like dinner basically at 6:30.
Yeah,
like
dinner. No one's getting dinner at. They're getting
out
turnt.
there.
They're getting turnt is what they're getting. But I was there and I still was enjoying myself, and I was just like, this is a great experience, even though I was like out of breath the entirety of the film because I ran half across the field. And I had like my walkie on, and it was like turned just barely on just to make sure
just in case,
if I got called in.
Where are you?
I literally would answer with, I'll be there in a minute.
Just like I used to say to my mom in the morning. She's like, get ready for school. And I was like, I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah, wait till I run half across the Coachella field. So that's how I was experiencing this film. And I think it obviously left a better impression on me than it did you.
Of course.
I will say, though, I was watching it with one of my coworkers on our day off on the computer. She was high AF. Like
and she loved it.
She was so high. She was like, I have no clue what's going on. I love it.
Dude, yeah, if I was high in that movie, like, I would not have any clue. I was completely sober, and there was a few times where I was like, what are you talking about?
You literally, and you just told me it has no plot, and yet you still have no clue what's going on?
No, it has a plot. I know it has a plot. It's just, okay.
They described it as a tropical thriller. Is that what you would call it?
No.
Yeah, well, too
I
bad.
wouldn't. I mean, like...
What would you call it,
It's
Benji?
it's technically like okay, but like also no. Like
is that so? What would knowing nothing? What would you call it?
I would call it like tropical is right. I would just call it like a tropical like what's it called? Like a tropical like political piece or something.
Okay.
It seemed a little more political to me. Like I almost thought it was based on a true story. Like I would have totally thought that if I didn't know that it wasn't, which it isn't, right?
It's got a lot of socio-political.
Yeah. Like I'm sure it's got undertones of like truth and stuff like that, but it's not specifically.
No, Guava Island is
on
not a real.
story.
It's a blend of a few different cultures from what I was reading. I mean, they definitely had a lot of Spanish in there,
Spanish,
Nigerian,
but everybody
influences,
was black. And I was really confused.
It was filmed in Cuba, so
yeah. Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Black people speak Spanish there.
Yeah,
more or less. Yeah. They're not all black. I'm part Cuban. So
are you for real?
Yeah.
You've never told me that.
I don't say it a lot because like I don't like feel it. But like
you should say that if people are like, oh my God, are you like African American? You'd be like, I'm Cuban.
I do actually.
Do you really?
It's funny because
I guess I just never say.
No,
are you African?
growing up, my dad was always like, oh yeah, like because my dad says a lot of stuff, so like I don't always like listen. But like,
is that why you don't listen to me? Your dad trained you just not to listen.
I pick and choose when things benefit me.
Sense.
But like he always was like, oh yeah, your great granddad was named like Felipe something something, and I was just like, because it never like occurred to me like, why are you telling me this? What does that mean? What does it matter? Like, I don't care. But he was just telling you, oh, you have Spanish in you. Your granddad had a very Spanish name, but like, or Spanish. I don't know. But like,
Spanish.
Yeah. So I wasn't paying attention. So it never really was like imparted in me growing up that I like, oh, you're a part Cuban. So like, only recently did I realize like, oh, that's like a thing that I might tell people that I should tell people, because people are always like, are you mixed with something? Like, you look a little bit mixed. And I'm like, I mean, I guess technically I have Cuban. So like,
people are crazy. Are you mixed with something? Yeah. You gonna mix this foot up your ass.
Everybody's mixed with everything, so
like,
it doesn't matter. But
anyone
like,
who's not mixed, you know who's not mixed? A little side note.
Who?
Conan O'Brien. And you know why? Do you want to know why?
Because he's a redhead and he wasn't born, he was created.
Oh my God.
Just
no.
kidding.
But almost as worse, his family's like, they're inbreds.
Straight up?
Well, I
like
guess
the family tree goes straight up?
Yeah. Straight up. It goes straight up.
That's from Galvan. I can't take credit for that.
Oh, I like that show for what I watched.
I love that show. We're going to do a thing about that.
Are we really?
Yeah.
I need to finish it, but I liked it.
Yeah, I'll finish it with you. I'm actually rewatching it right now.
So you already went over your initial thoughts. Like I said, it was a breezy film. Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Like, you thought it was a breezy film, like how?
Like, it felt just like,
like fun and easy to watch?
I mean, it is easy to watch. It's over within like 55 minutes.
That doesn't make it easy to watch.
It was like, it felt like a casual experience. Like, even though
I feel like choking someone to death only takes like an hour, but like that's not easy to watch.
How long do you how
It only takes 3 minutes without air to die. So
yeah, why is it taking you an hour to choke somebody to death? Also, are you choking people to death?
I get guilty and then I stop and I let them breathe and then I'm like, oh no, I had to kill you.
No half measures. No half measures, Benji. You got to go full
out on your murder.
No, it was breezy because it just like I don't know, because like when you watch it, it doesn't feel like a film, even though it's essentially the length of a film.
Yeah,
but it's like it almost the best way I would describe it is like it's like a greatest hits album, even though it's not a visual album. It felt like when you're okay, so a full album has like songs from beginning, middle, and end. And even though they don't all tell an arc or a story, there's kind of a sense of like this album is full.
It all goes together. And I think I know where you're going with this, and I agree. So
and where it's like this was more like we took the hits and it kind of created a smaller album. Mm-hmm. And there's a sense of like everything you love is there. So it was like a film where it's like everything you need from a film: the arc, the kind of the undercurrent, like the ideas, the philosophies they were playing with, the themes, the actors, like the acting. It's all there. And I don't want to say that something's missing from it, because honestly, we're not owed this film. They literally created it. They didn't build it up. They gave it to us as a gift. So even people complaining about like, Rihanna was barely in it. I was like, you didn't even know
she was making a movie.
Y'all need to calm down.
That's so funny. And she was like in it.
She was in it. They were just mad that she didn't sing.
Yeah, but I mean, also like if you're saying it's a movie starring Donald Glover and Rihanna, it's like, it's Donald Glover's movie. It's like he was in it the most. She was in it next.
Right.
And then the other guy was in it the least. So it's like
most of the reviews I was reading, they were like complaining about it as if they had known about this film.
Yeah, like
I was expecting to see more Rihanna. It's not like it's a Star Wars film where it's like there was no lightsabers in it, and it's like, yeah, well, you go to a Star Wars film, you expect lightsabers.
Yeah, exactly.
This one was just like, bam, new movie, and they're like, it wasn't what I was expecting.
They're like, you see Rihanna, you expect music.
Like, what were
you? They got music.
I mean, that is true.
By the way, like there was singing in this movie. I don't know if we ever said that explicitly, but like,
yeah, there was a lot of singing in this film,
and it caught me by surprise.
Oh yeah, it did.
It did.
So what I was saying was that you have all the greatest hits in this kind of smaller album, and like I said, it's not that something feels missing. It just felt like it's just adjacent to being a full album, just adjacent to being a full movie. There was this breezy quality where it's like, oh, it was over. And you're not necessarily like, oh, there's something missing, but you're kind of like, it didn't have, I don't know.
No, I feel that.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too, is I feel like it literally just, I feel like we were dropped into this world. Like not dropped, not like a cold drop with nothing, because they had like literally two
openings explaining.
Yeah, but they start like opening just giving like, but it's like the briefest, just quickest, like,
Right.
hey, this is basically what's happening now, we're here.
Right.
There wasn't really anything spoon fed to you. There was nothing really said out loud.
That's true.
It was all just kind of your own inferencing and understanding what's going on.
That's absolutely
Which
true.
is kind of like why I felt like it was less like a movie where they're like, oh, we're going to drop you in the middle, but don't worry, there'll be flashbacks. Like people will say things out loud to infer what was going on, like around or previous or what's going on like that. It was very just as if you were to wake up in Guava Island one day and somebody were like, oh, this is kind of what Guava Island's about.
Okay.
And then you were just walking around with Donald Glover and hanging out with him and you were just like watching him interact with his friends. Like no explanation.
And how'd you feel about that?
I mean, like, I was cool with it. I personally, I guess I would prefer a little more, like, tell me what the hell is going on.
Right.
But it was such kind of a straightforward thing, like a straightforward story and like an understandable storyline of like, oh, there's these people that are in power. They're kind of like dictators. They're holding you guys down, that it doesn't really need that much explanation.
No,
specifically. There were a few things that I was just kind of like, how does that work? But it didn't really matter as far as the storyline. So
I mean, I loved it. Like everything you just explained as to what it felt like.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree and say that that's one of the reasons I liked it.
Yeah.
I felt like I was dropped into this world that felt, oddly enough, fully realized.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've watched a lot of films lately where I don't feel like they build up the mythology as well as like, I mean, hell, a simple 55-minute short, and within the first like 10 minutes, you're like, oh, I get absolutely what I'm watching.
I know what's going on. Yeah.
And it does obviously play from kind of historical aspects where you're like, okay, that does a lot of the heavy lifting. Where you're like, this is not,
you kind of understand the dynamic immediately.
It's not exactly a real island, but you have a feeling as to what it's about. So I guess we can just start talking about
it.
So as previously mentioned, it opens up with these two introductions, animated, very beautiful animation.
Yes. So number one thing, I guess I should probably do a credit report on the beginning of every one. The credits weren't too long in the beginning. What
is that going to be your thing?
I'm going to give you that. If you're like me and you don't like long credits, this isn't a problem. It wasn't short, but it also like it was animated, so there's stuff running around and happening.
So you were distracted.
So it was distracting enough that I could deal with how long it was. If it was just words, I would have been very upset.
Okay. Well, after that, then they have the introduction. We kind of have like two introductions. There's one that introduces the mythology of the island, which is that at one point there was this beautiful island created by, I guess, the molding of War and Peace, or
yeah. So like there's
gods created.
So
an
the gods created War and Peace or whatever. Those were the first things created, and they're constantly at war with each other. And then the gods created this perfect little Guava Island that is basically an oasis.
Right, and they have something on that island. It was the clay worm that creates blue silk. Now that silk, pay attention because that does show up in the rest of the film. Like their seamstresses working with blue silk. So which is interesting is like, oh, so that's not exactly like a myth. Like
no, that's just literally that's their thing. It's like I'm assuming that because they said like the blue silk was beautiful, people coveted it, and the person found it, and then the Red family came and took over, which the Red family is the dictatorship that's running them. Is like they're just called Red,
and that theme plays out throughout the entire film,
so
like
that's
red and blue.
So I would assume that straight up, like what it was they probably had the people of Guava Island probably had like the blue silk, and they were making their own clothes with it and blah blah blah, and just living with it, and we're at peace with our island.
Them up.
And then the people came and they were like, oh, we can make money off this, you guys make me more of that or I'll kill you.
Capitalism.
Kind of thing. Yeah, so that's just because myths are a retelling of like real life, just in a simpler form, so that like kids can understand.
I will say there's a little bit of an irony every time that a film is anti-capitalistic, and it's like, yeah, but you were created by capitalistic purposes. Like you were funded by a studio, you were shot with film and equipment, and you premiered at one of the biggest festivals on earth.
The biggest capitalist festival. I don't know what capitalism. I'm not saying any of that. I don't know if Coachella is capitalist or not.
I'm just saying
it's money.
It's like saying we need to save the trees. But like printing that on paper.
Yeah, let's print it on posters.
like save funny. The trees written on a paper.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I did think that the original the story that they opened with about like Guava Island and how it came to be was just like, And I'm kind of sad, like, because she was like, this is what my mother heard from her mother. This is what I heard from my mom growing up. And it's not like a happy, like, fairy tale. It's like a kind of tragic tale of, like, literally paradise lost is how the story ends. And that's it. And they're just like, go to bed, honey. Like, what? Like,
that's true.
And there's not even, like, how in a lot of myths there's like that glimmer of hope. It's like, oh, we're suffering now, but we're waiting for the chosen one to come, and like, or we're waiting for the people to come together, or we're waiting for something.
Well, I think that comes into play because then Denny's coworker clearly says that he wants to get off the island and go to America.
Yeah,
but then Denny instantly is like, no. That doesn't help because what you think you're going to find in America, you're really just going to find this.
Yeah, exactly.
This exists everywhere. Mm-hmm. What America has exists here as well.
Yeah, which I thought was a cool point.
And so it plays into this idea that, no, there is no glimmer of hope. So these people do think, like, let's just get away. And Denny's whole thing is like, no, we can do this together.
To do something, yeah, because Rihanna's character wanted to leave.
Coffee.
And he wanted to... Coffee?
Coffee. Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Kofi, I believe.
Okay, cool.
Coffee.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful name, which I kind of want to name my daughter now.
Say, maybe not. Well,
what?
I was like, I guess there's not really a culture behind that name, so maybe it's fair.
True. I don't know. I need to look into that.
I would look that up.
I'm just saying it's a beautiful name.
It is
what it is.
But one thing random is, did Donald Glover have an accent? Because I wasn't
It was
sure.
off and on. It was like a Caribbean accent off and on.
And it was very off and on, because sometimes I could tell he was really trying, but it would be for like one line. Yeah. And then I was like, wait, does he? And then it would kind of be less, and then it would be gone.
Well, I always wondered that when it's like you're saying certain lines that can kind of go either way. Like, the Spanish, like Mexican Spanish, like you have the word no.
Yeah.
It's essentially just no.
Yeah.
And it's only how you say it, but like you could easily say certain sentences in different languages that are like English adjacent and not exactly hear it. It's only when you hear like longer that you're like, oh, that you clearly.
It was like shorter sentences that I was like, wait, did he have an accent in there? But like, I just thought that it was interesting that he grew up on that island but doesn't have an accent.
So yeah, we see the history of the island, then we see the history of Coffee and Denny and
Coffee and cream.
You are awful.
I'm annoying.
So she obviously was swoons over this boy, but she plays it close to the chest.
Yeah,
throughout the entire film.
Yeah,
that is her character, to play things very close to the chest. She doesn't tell him, "Wow, that sounds beautiful." She says, "Practice is perfection."
She did, because the first song she heard from him she thought was amazing, but she was like,
"I'm not going to tell him that."
She said, "Try again."
Hey, I like her. She's very...
She don't play. And then she said he promised to come back every night until he made a song that was as beautiful as me.
Luckily, no song is that beautiful.
I was like, okay, Rihanna.
I liked
so
her. She was so charming in this.
Yeah.
Like the brief moments she was in. And I couldn't help but think, I was like, man, she just needs to work with really good directors. I have to say that I never saw Battleship.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that either, because I was trying to think, have I seen her in anything? What else is she in?
I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think.
Yeah, I can't think of anything, but I liked her in this a lot.
She's done voice work, and she was, of course, she was in Ocean's 8.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she had a short spot in Bring It On All or Nothing.
Really? I've never seen that.
It was as herself. So, but I mean, it was cool. It was the first time I realized she had a heavy accent. I was like, girl, what you saying? Like, what?
Well, I loved her a lot, and I was like, obviously if she just works with the right people, has a great character, I mean, I would love to see more of her. So we meet Denny in real life, not in cartoon form, and he's a musician. He's running all over the island. I don't know if that's a theme, but it's a recurring thing that happens. He's just constantly running.
I was about to say, but it is a choice because he's always late.
Yeah.
But I noticed that too. I was like, what? I was like, look, slow down. Like, why are you always running?
But it plays into the thing. And it's a great way of introducing the island. All of these people love him. He's like a mini celebrity there. And right off the bat, you learn he's doing a festival. That's one of the things I loved about this. It was like minimalistic filmmaking. Like,
exactly.
We don't need to take a whole lot of time to be like, this huge thing. It's just like, hey, festival tonight. Oh, yeah, festival tonight. You're like, okay.
And everybody already knows about it. He's not promoting it. He's not talking about about himself. He's not like, I can sell this because I'm blah blah blah. He's just like, oh yeah, I'm doing a festival tonight. You coming? Okay, see you there.
It was like very breezy, and at the same time there was a lot of things that they were doing at once because they kind of had to with such a limited amount of time. So while he's running through the neighborhood, you're learning what this town is like. You're meeting these people. You are learning kind of about his character. You're learning that he's got a festival. Tonight you're learning why he wants to have the festival. And then on top of all of that, you're seeing posters and understanding that this town is under the watch of Red.
Because there was one poster that he ran by that said Red sees you. And I was like, oh, they ain't playing.
No, no. And it's, it's very economic. Like the film used it, it was very wise in how it used what it was setting up.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it was it never felt like I was just watching a bunch of exposition. I was just watching a film and I just happened to know everything that was going on in it. All right, so first thing we're introduced to him is with him and Kofi. He takes off to go to the radio station. At the radio station, you learn that he's a musician and he plays for people. And then he's leaving the radio station. Of course, during this time, you also learn that
he advertises for Red.
He does advertise for Red,
which is one of my things is so is that their radio station or is that just to appease them or do they pay
I figured that Red owns
station?
Everything, yeah.
That's my guess, but then also I was like, if you work for their radio station, why do you have to worry about being late for work? And then why do you also have work outside of that if you work for them? So that's just one of the things where I was like, I would have enjoyed a little more explanation there specifically, but it's not a big deal. And probably if you're a little bit more detail oriented than me, you'll probably know exactly why. So
I mean, I didn't. I just kind of. It was one of those things where I took was people work multiple jobs, but the people in charge are I don't want to hear excuses. Just show up, and you're like,
that's true.
Bitch, I'm working for you. What? That's what I'm doing. During this time, of course, you hear one of the things I liked. Like I said, they do a really good job of establishing things without you noticing it. You get to see all of these people enjoying his music through the multiple shots that they show of the radio, and of course, you're introduced to Kofi. And I never got Letitia's the character's name, but these two women are seamstresses, and they're working in a factory for, of course, Red.
Kind of sweatshopish.
But they're producing blue.
They are. They're producing blue dresses or I wasn't sure exactly what they were, but
blue shit.
Yeah, blue shit. And it was with I was like, yeah, that's the silk.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they're using the silk. They're working there. You're getting an idea of kind of and of course Letitia, she in the brief moments is just she lights up. She's such a beautiful person.
She's nice. I'd hang out with her.
Yeah, right. I feel like that's how she the two major things I've seen her in. It's I'd
hang out with you.
Cool.
You're fun.
Yeah, with Gambino, I'm I'd listen to you. But you seem very intense.
I don't think we can hang out.
I
don't know if that would.
But I think that's certain actors, they have that where it's just some actors, they get by on the fact that they're stars. Other actors get by, it's ooh, they're really brooding and dark. And some actors they literally get by because you're I just want to hang out with that person, and it works.
And some of them you're just I'll just one up you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. The hot actors that get along just because they're hot.
There's none of those.
None of them.
One of then after the radio station, of course, he has to rush over to the docks.
Their cargo job. Yeah.
In between, what happens?
Yeah, so he gets attempted robbed by these 3 random kids.
They work for Red, which I'm what do you do?
So he ended up knowing who they were. They were robbing him, and they were oh yeah, Red said we could work for them, and which is sad because it's like that is life in some smaller countries.
Yeah, those are the little tidbits that you're you pass them over, but when you really think about it, you're like, wait, what?
Because it wasn't really leaned into, but that is a thing. When people child soldiers and stuff. That's probably how they started.
And it was it was a funny little scene, but you're oh, but the implication
is that's rough. That's heavy, bro. Yeah, so it's not breezy. You just breezed right by that scene, and I was bruh. That's how shit starts.
Yeah, I mean, it is. So these kids, of course, and this is the moment where things get, spoiled for his festival. I'm trying to figure out, though. I guess, this whole island happens to know about his festival. He's setting up the festival, but it's these 3 little kids that reveal it to Red in, a miraculous amount of time. Because that's the reason that Red finds out about it.
Did he not know before?
No. He says the kids told me.
Oh. Well, you know what it was? I'm sure it was the fact that all the adults know not to.
That's true, but that's a big ass island.
Yeah, it is. But everybody like hates Red and loves him, so it's like, why are you gonna rat him out?
True.
You know?
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, like,
but it's like when it's literally like high school when somebody's planning a party and they're like, bring the alcohol, we're all gonna have alcohol, and it's like, yeah, we're all doing stuff we're not supposed to, so nobody's gonna say anything.
Right. Okay.
But then when you tell your little brother, like, hey, like, we're like, go over to your friend's house, we're gonna have a party, and then they go rat you out to mom and dad. They just don't. They're like, oh yeah, well, I want to go over to Terry's house because like Jeffrey said he's having a party, and they're like,
and then mom's like, what?
So like,
true.
yeah,
that's one of that's a good analogy. I like that. I like that a lot. No, wink all you want.
Sometimes I have good ideas.
He's got great ideas.
Sometimes
you have great ideas. The kids rat him out. I guess they probably do it.
It's probably accidental.
Yeah, inadvertently.
Yeah.
In between this is one of my favorite scenes because I love the song so much. But we have the whole "This Is America," but
which. I didn't realize that this was going to be music.
This was the moment you went, the fuck? And you were like, what?
I was like, so I was watching it and he goes, "This is America." And I was like, ha, that's his song.
Right.
And I was just going to, like, I didn't even say it out loud because I was
No, you did not.
I was just going to, like, move on because I was, like, trying not to, like, ruin the ambiance because I thought it was, like, well, it is a serious movie. So, and then he said it, like, 2 other times and I was like, oh, it's, like, really leaning into his own shit right now. And then, like,
the song
just literally starts. And I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. Got it.
Out of the entire film, it is the most kind of like you have to take a little leap of like into the imagination.
Yeah, you have to be like, okay.
Because every other musical scene in the film it's more integrated, a little bit more realistically.
Yeah, exactly.
Realistically. This is the one that actually has choreography.
This is the High School Musical scene where the whole cafeteria just starts dancing to the same song.
And you're like, when did y'all have time?
Yeah.
That's what happens in this moment. I loved it, but what was interesting about it is like, so This Is America, the original music video, which we didn't even really talk about that, but it's phenomenal and threw me off guard.
Nodding.
And it has a lot of the music video itself is obviously talking about our history with America. And what was interesting about this kind of recreation of it was that it was taking that and applying it to the whole world. And this idea of capitalism, which is like making money or making other people rich to get richer as well. The idea of like, you've got to work hard.
Like the other side of it.
Yeah. And it was...
A quick question. You mean our history... as America.
Well, the original music video, the original song, all you really are kind of like going with is the history of like us as American, like what America is like for, you know, someone like Donald Glover and what he's like presenting is like.
Okay, because I was like, for like black people specifically or just people in his socioeconomical. I didn't really.
Are you talking about? Well, I'm saying
for
like
the original.
The original, yeah,
like,
it's absolutely for like
black people.
Black people.
Okay, because when you said, because you were like, oh, it shows our history. I was like,
oh, well, I meant our, but yeah, our collective history though. Like we all contribute to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, there's gunmen and there's people gunned down, so it's like it is still our history.
It's like America's history, but
in this version,
focus on
it was the idea of like, which I thought was such an interesting theme. The theme of like almost inescapability, like. Yeah. And a lot of films play into that whole like get away. And this was very interesting because it was like, no, you can't get away. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
But I think that was the cycle of hope is like we have to be the ones that change things.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole film he's trying to say like if y'all just show up late.
Yeah, he's like if everyone shows up an hour late, no one's late.
And time plays a huge into this film. He's like, I'm always late, but that's me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost as if he's saying like nobody owns time.
Yeah.
And no one should own time. You know, Red shouldn't own it. So we get this really interesting music video. I think even kind of more eerie than the original one. Not as good. I like the original one better, but this one's a little bit more eerie because it is kind of saying like this isn't just America.
Yeah. He's like, this
the first one you're kind of like I'm sure like someone who's like not American was watching the original video being like, yeah, well, this isn't us. Like we haven't done that.
It's like surprise, it's everyone.
Yeah, surprise, we're all crappy. And of course the whole time his coworker's like, oh, guys, can you stop dancing?
Let's get back to work.
And then he picks up the phone to call Red or his superiors.
Yeah, like and then Donald, it's just like he like is like, don't do it. But he's
what
like,
was the comment you
full
said?
on like ussing him. He's like,
don't dial once upon a typhoon. That was a workout. That hurts my throat doing that. Kudos to Lupita because like I could not do that for an entire film.
Yeah.
Lord. But yeah, he basically shuts that down. And yet, he still gets kidnapped.
Yeah, he gets kidnapped to work right in the end. They're just like, oh, go get him at work, because apparently the kids were like, guess what?
They were so quick about that.
Seats.
My God, those kids did not waste any time telling people.
They didn't. They were probably super excited to like go back and be like, we got seats to the show. Yay! We're gonna be in the front.
So he gets kidnapped and brought into like the waiting room. They put a name tag on him.
You like put this name tag on, and he was like, oh, do I like have to? Doesn't he know it? And the guy like snatched it and wrote his name for him and like slapped.
I read a few places like that was the most like his other works in that film, where it's like a lot of one of the reasons I love Atlanta is because it dabbles in this absurdity, but it's kind of like everyone accepts the absurdity except for one character. It's just like, what?
It's like, what are you doing?
And in this moment, of course, it was like, you've been kidnapped, but put a name tag on.
Yeah,
and
he's like, I'm clearly not a guest. Like, what's going on? Like,
I love that.
Like, obviously, you know exactly who I am.
Right. You knew who I was enough to kidnap me.
To come find me.
Right.
And take me.
And obviously, when he walks into the room, the villain, Red, knows who he is. He's like, I like you, Denny.
Yeah, and like tells him all about himself. So it's like, really? Don't I need the name tag?
Do I need this?
Yeah. But it's
just add me on Facebook, man.
It's like when Ched needs somebody to shake his hand and he doesn't. If you don't, then he gets upset.
You're referencing something nobody's seen.
I am referencing, make sure you check it out. It's called Tinseltown. It is on Josiah's YouTube page, and I will reference it more. So
it's a weird, shameless plug.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I was in it.
I'll take it. He was in it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. It was our little web series that we made a while ago.
Yeah, we'll talk about that some other time. So he goes into the room with Red. Red obviously likes Denny. They both kind of like you in the brief moments that we meet them. They have very different ideas of what work is supposed to be like. Obviously, Red's about like work.
Yeah, which do those people work 7 days a week? Is that the thing?
Oof. I mean, I guess
I'm kind of assuming because it's kind of like for them to make that big of a deal of having one festival,
right?
And for him to be so upset about, well, you can't have it because like next day nobody will come in. It's kind of like, well, then is there a day that they can have it? Because I feel like that would be the easiest way to resolve it. But I'm assuming.
But the thing is a whole middle finger.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, I get that. But I'm also assuming since if they work 7 days a week, that would be why.
Yeah, that would suck.
You know, and then
they live in paradise, but they don't have the means or the time to enjoy it. An exact line.
That's a line.
In this room, of course, there's a caged bird. Symbolism.
Why does the caged bird sing?
I don't know why.
I don't know. That's just the riddle.
I know.
I was like, I don't know. Because he has hope or because he's too dumb to notice he's caged. One or the other.
What's interesting about this scene is that Red gives a brief kind of insight into himself where he says something along the lines of like, I learned that I couldn't, I guess, find a career in art in reference to, because he's like, because you never know how people will feel about art.
Which so he probably does admire him to an extent.
Yeah, and to a degree, obviously, that's Donald speaking to everybody. Like, when you do what he does when it comes to his art, like, he dropped a music video where people get shot.
Yeah.
They die.
Multiple people.
Like, and, you know, it's almost spitting in the face of the people who tried to lift him up, who are like, I just want to go to Coachella to see Donald Glover. And he's like, yeah, well, let's talk about the issues in America. Let me show you a video where people die. And you almost have to like turn that off to quote unquote enjoy the song. I mean, I have to like every time I listen to the song, I have to remember what was in the music video, remember what was going on,
remember the point of the
remember
song.
The point of it, like I mentioned earlier. And I imagine that you have these artists who do things that are like they're in the face of what they should do. They're in the face of what capitalistically they should do in terms of like making money.
Yeah.
Obviously it's worked out in his favor right now, but you never know. You're taking a risk of saying like
every time you do something,
you're throwing
like
a middle finger to the audience and going like, are you going to sit here and figure this out with me, or are you going to turn me off? Like, so I mean, this is a moment where he's like looking at the audience and basically saying like, yeah, you never know how they're going to feel.
Yeah, exactly.
You drop a random 55-minute film,
you don't know how people are going to receive it.
Yeah,
you don't.
Then people receive it the way they do. I liked it, but I'm not.
I did not.
Yeah, you did not.
I respect it. I don't like it. Like, obviously, it's amazing, like who he is and what he does, and that he like made a film with Rihanna. Like, that's awesome.
I know.
Like, just another.
He essentially did the thing that Adam Sandler does with his movies, where they just go on vacation and make a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But he did it exceedingly better.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's an awesome movie. It's just not the type of movie I would watch.
No.
So let's just be clear about that. I think it's a great movie, and it has
or it's a great whatever it is.
It's a great whatever it is, and it has a message to it. it's just not the way I would have liked to see
Right.
it go.
No, I get that. I 100% get that. So, long story short, he's in this room. He connects with Red. Red basically says, don't do it.
Yeah, he's like, he says, don't have this concert because everybody's not going to come into work the next day, which I'm like, hey, what kind of concert y'all having? Like, is it like, are y'all staying up till 6 a.m.? Like, because I'm pretty sure I've done a few nights where I stay out till 3 or 4 and I take my ass to work the next day. So, like,
real talk.
Let's be adults. And let's have our party and go to work too. But maybe they were intending to do that, which I don't think they really were, because the whole point was they wanted to have a day off.
Right.
Which I think they don't ever get days off. But yeah, he was like, yeah, don't do it because nobody's going to come into work the next day. And he was like, I'll give you money to not do it. He offers him $10,000, which for Americans is like, for
savings.
American adults is like a decent amount of money. But like, if you're about to throw like a concert, you're like, well, what's $10,000? Like that could change my life right now. But for somebody who's like set in their life, that's probably not a lot for them to like change like what they're trying to do. But like for them, that was like enough for them to go like leave the country and restart their life somewhere else, which is like all that Rihanna's character wanted from day one. But he wanted to stay because in the very beginning, they said that his
love was for the people.
She said his goal was to make a song that would unite unite all the people for at least a night or a day or whatever.
And so it clearly shows, like, obviously he would rather not die, which is what he's contemplating. And obviously that's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But in the end, the people are more important. What's interesting, at the beginning, the kids are the ones that get him in trouble. And they're also the ones that make him decide to still do. Yeah. Because he goes to the church to teach them. And they're like, are you going to sing a song for us? Oh, my gosh,
yeah. And he was like, shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we skipped ahead there because in between that,
he offers him the money to do it, and then he like breaks his guitar, and then he's also like, oh yeah, I have a few other things. I mean, that wife of yours, just kind of like, hey, if you
I
go
know
through
who
with
she
this,
is.
like we're gonna find other ways to.
We're gonna throw hands.
Here we go.
Hands will be thrown.
So yeah, and then he's like, think about it, and then they kick him out and throw the money at him and shit.
I honestly will never not like villains who are charming. I just, it's like it's always an endless way to write characters who like connect with you, but then like undercut you. Yeah. But then they're like, like
they're like, I like you. You're great. Also, I need to get you the hell out of here.
Yes.
We need to do an Easy A one, literally just so we can keep referencing that.
Also,
we have already
we need
done
to get
the movie.
Her the hell out of here.
Like. Number one lines. Anyways.
Gets rid of, so Danny leaves. He goes and meets up with Kofi. She, of course, has something to tell him. We don't know what she's going to tell him.
Mm-hmm. Then he sings her a song.
Summertime Magic.
Summertime Magic.
And what's cool?
Summertime.
This was one of the scenes where the whole theater lit up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this is one of the sines where like it projected and they had a little animation going on at the same time. I was like sitting there kind of like, oh. Like, because like after a while you kind of forget that you're seeing a movie in the weird setting that you're seeing it. You forget. Yeah. You're just like, oh, okay.
It's like now you're in the movie.
Yeah,
like
I'm in the movie. And then that happened and it took me out, but in the right way. It was like, oh, yeah. It was like,
there's so much more to this.
It's an experience. And I keep coming back to that. When we call it a movie, I'm like, yeah, it's more of an experience. Like a weird, odd experience that unfortunately Amazon Prime members are never going to really fully get. But whatever.
Like, I wouldn't have ever seen it because it's Amazon Prime.
I've called you up and was like, watch it. And you're like, I don't have Amazon Prime.
I was like, how? Like, I'm sorry I didn't get to see it for free or actually technically get paid to see it because I was at work. Right. Like, not all of us are just going to drop $100 on an Amazon Prime membership, which, by the way, not a plug. I think Amazon, like, Prime Video or whatever is like $12.99 a month or something.
Amazon Prime Video is $12.99 a month. We're hoping to be sponsored.
If you want to sponsor it, I'll promote you, but also, like, Netflix.
Be affordable.
Also, I don't pay for any of my memberships.
No, you don't. So they have this adorable moment where he serenades her with the song that he considers as beautiful as her.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say, as beautiful as that song is, he needs to try a little harder.
She said, nice try.
She said, nice try. Especially that end scene when you see her all dressed up. You're like, ooh, I'm going to need a little bit more songs.
I'm going to need another song.
I'm going to need way more songs than that. But it is a beautiful song. And this, of course, is a more... I don't want to say realistic musical sequence, but it's more along the lines.
It's more integrated into the movie.
It doesn't take as much of a leap where it's like obviously like the kids somehow knowing how to play. It's like, oh, all right,
and
him dancing with her, but it was so charming.
It was cute.
It was
really sweet.
I liked it. And, of course, the animation in the theater definitely helped out.
Yeah.
Then, of course, it's cut short by, I don't know, I guess the sound of the docks, the cargo ships, whatever. Something pulls them away.
Yeah.
And she's not able to tell him that.
I love you.
No, she's pregnant.
I love our baby that you don't know about yet.
Yeah, it was definitely like Benji saw it a mile away.
Yeah.
But
when I realized that she had something to tell him, I was like, oh, she's pregnant. Like, duh. What else do women tell their men after they're married?
I have a life and I'm my own independent person.
Goodbye. She's leaving him. That's what she's going to tell him. Thanks for the song, but I gave you 15 years and you couldn't come up with a song, so sorry. Babe.
Sorry.
Bye.
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 Then he goes to the church. Then he talks with the children.
And they're like super excited about the concert. And they're like, will you play us a special song?
Once again,
and
this sounds like a scene from a Disney movie.
He's like,
we have to do a song to unite the people. Let's put on a concert.
It is. That is such a Disney theme.
We should do that. We should just take like storylines from Disney movies, but then like make them super dark.
Yeah.
And socio-political. Like
legit. Like I think we should do that at least once, and you're definitely the director to do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's why I probably liked the film. Is it was dark and sad, and it had a very melancholy ending. Spoiler alert. There was a line though I really liked while we kind of are introduced to the one when she goes back, Coffee goes back to work, where her friend Letitia basically says like, "Oh, artists love adventure, babies like an adventure," and she goes, "Yeah, well, artists also like the freedom." I was like,
true that.
That's truth. So, Denny decides to do the festival and immediately Red's right outside waiting to talk to Coffee.
Which BTW, because when he was in the office the first time with Red, I don't know if that's actually his name, but when he's in the office with him the first time, he's like, you can announce that you're canceling the concert on your 5 o'clock show.
Right.
And then like when Rihanna heard that possibly like he might be canceling it, she was like, why? And she was like, I don't know, but if he does, he'll say it on the show. And she was like, yeah. So then when they were listening and they're like waiting to see what he would say. And then he
don't do that.
He goes, yeah, I'll see you at the concert. And everybody's like, woo, it's on. Because they had all heard the rumor already that it might not be going because they tried to stop him. So, which... She goes, I think she said the island told her or something like that. She's like, where'd you hear that? And she goes, the island. And I was like, what? Did like the grass like whisper in your ear like, just letting you know that the concert might not be on.
Is that what grass sounds like?
That's what grass sounds
Yay,
like.
may it be.
Yay, may it be. So, yeah, but that was just... But yeah, so he announces that the concert's still on.
And your exact words were, baby daddy gonna die. Those were your exact words.
Did you write that down?
I did. I wrote that. You said, baby daddy gonna die.
I said, baby daddy gonna die. That's funny. I did. But also, I was just kind of like, okay, like, make that announcement, but also, like, get your ass home and get your girl real quick because, like, they literally already threatened her. So, like,
and he was right out, but he was waiting for her. He was waiting to just... shank her or shank her with threats.
Yeah,
basically.
But she like ran home, so it's like, okay, run to her job where she is right now.
Right.
Like, protect your family.
So she goes to the festival. The festival I loved. If there was anything I could have done more of is like just more like the costumes,
like
and the set design in this film.
More cowbells.
Needs more cowbell. Set design, it was so beautiful. Just like I loved looking at this kind of like quasi blend of all these different cultures.
Yeah.
And just how they really played with color, especially towards the end. But in this moment, I loved kind of like this really earthy, creepy, but still like awesome, like
because there was like a festival, but there was this sense of impending doom because obviously like Rihanna, Kofi had ran home to kind of tell like Donald like, hey, I'm pregnant or whatever, and then like the guy Red came up and was like, hey, tell your husband to break a leg, super ominously, and she's like, damn it,
I'm gonna kill your boyfriend.
Like she's like, damn it, and then she like ran to the concert and like she's kind of freaking out. She wants to enjoy it, but obviously she can't because she's like, my husband possibly is in danger. Okay, so so we're enjoying the concert and the music, but also we're like with Rihanna where we're kind of like a little bit.
And of course Denny plays the island and he says something, he says, I wanted this to be a celebration of life. I wanted us to have a moment that we enjoy ourselves. And it's admirable what he's doing. Of course, he's obviously putting himself on the line and he gets shot at runs away.
Yeah.
And then he sees a bird that's not caged.
Yes. So
Symbolism.
Again, another thing that I personally would have done differently.
He's just walking on set. Guys, I know we're making this $1 billion film, but I'm going to need you to
can you go
change
ahead
it this
and
way.
just have like a backup plan? Like if you know
Right.
they're trying to kill you / your family, maybe have like a contingency of I'm going to play this concert, but then I'm going to get the hell out of here. Like I'm going to have a car waiting to take me to the airport with my $10,000 and my wife.
That's true.
And we're going to get the hell out of here.
That's true. But I always think one of the tragic aspects about these films is people's, I guess their trustworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they don't. I think it's kind of a tragic thing of the idea that humans don't see the reality of how harsh something could be. They almost assume like, oh, I'll be fine.
They're like, it'll be okay.
Our inherent belief of we'll be okay.
But that's a very teenage mindset.
It is
to have.
It is, but it's it's one that also leads to believe that you can create a song that will
unite
the world. You're gonna have you're gonna, I guess, at the core have, if you believe that you can unite people, you're almost opening yourself up to that vulnerability of like people are inherently good and things will inherently work out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that's his undoing. While it still plants a seed for being something that in the end succeeds. So he gets shot at, and I mean, I have to say, I know that there was a rapper that died
Getting shot on stage.
No, there was a musician who had died just earlier that week. Nipsey, who I'm not as familiar with his work, even though I've heard that amazing things about him. I just know personally watching any artist get shot at, specifically with kind of like political and racial undertones, is just, it's a little unnerving. But once again, that's just one of the things that Glover is playing with, where he's just like, no one wants to see that. No one really wants to be seeing like another young black man get shot at. But
that's the world that they were in.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit different, obviously, in this case, other than like presenting it as an American specific problem. Now this is more of a global problem. But it's still it's rough to have to see somebody trying to do something good just
get So he gets shot at. He runs. He sees the uncaged bird, same bird, blue. Then he gets shot in the back.
Pop, pop.
That's the wrong. That's not okay.
It's a community reference.
Pop, I hope Donald sees this and goes, you know what? I was on board until the very end. Now I'm going to blacklist you.
Damn.
I'm just kidding. I hope not.
Well, what's the character's name? Who says pop, pop?
Magnitude.
Magnitude.
Pop, pop. Oh my God.
That's what happens. No, he does
he gets shot in the back. He falls over. A guy walks
to black.
up, shoots him again.
Oh, right.
We see him get shot, and he is clearly dead.
Yeah.
You know, his hand drops. And then fade to black, and then they come back to
red. So I don't even think he cares. Like, it's just, it's an afterthought.
It was like another day. He like did his thing, and like he's moving on with his life. And then he goes down to
the docks or whatever. One of them.
The first one, which I don't know why he decided. I guess he just goes in every day to check on people, make sure they're working.
I mean, yeah, if you're forcing people to work 7 days a week,
you got to go make sure they're
like,
working.
Like, jeez.
Yeah. So he goes down to like the sewing place where Rihanna works. Nobody's there. He runs to the back. Nobody's in the back. He's like, what the hell? They run over
That's his exact phrase.
What the hell? They run over to the docks. Nobody's there. And he's like, where the hell is everybody? And then he goes down to like, I guess the town square or whatever, just basically City Hall.
And they're throwing him a funeral.
Main Street. Yeah. And they're
throwing a funeral for their martyr hero. And he won. The town won. He didn't win. And that's, I think, it's not just him that won. It's the people that won. They decide that there's something more important than, being afraid of not going to work. Like,
this is where I diverge.
Interesting.
I feel like there needed to be something more tangible, I guess, in the end, versus the idea of like...
You want him to get popped?
Like, obviously I would want him to live, but like, just like...
No, I meant you wanted Red to get popped.
Yeah, that would have been awesome too. Or like, yeah, like if the town had like rallied and just like beat him to death in the streets, that's very violent.
It's a very dark ending.
But also just like something where it shows that, no, we're overthrowing the power. Like we're going to come together and we're going to do something. Because they literally just took a day off for a funeral. That's all I saw.
Yeah, but if you know...
They're going to work tomorrow. Like,
I know,
I'm sorry to say.
But if you know history, you know that you can't just overthrow
the... Yeah, I
and
get it.
it's the little moments of victory.
It's a really... I think it's a very American mindset for me to just yell like, I needed a happier ending or I needed something bigger to happen.
It's like that moment in Django Unchained when like Calvin Candy is basically like, well, why don't the slaves just unite and like stand up and that's the mindset that a lot of us have whenever we look back on that history. We're like, oh, you know, like why didn't they just do it? There was more in numbers. But what you learn, unfortunately, is like the more you do things like that,
the more people step down on you.
The worse you make it. And so it was like the mini victories that you have to look at, the many times that people are like, I'm gonna do this. You probably didn't see this movie. Did you see BlacKkKlansman?
No, I didn't.
There's a moment in it when like one of the racist cops basically asks, he's like downstairs in like the not storage, it's like where all the information is, and so he has to like, they tell him, get me this file, and he goes, grabs the file and brings it to him, and the racist cop basically says, can you do it? Like he says something condescending, and so the cop just takes it from him and goes, then he takes his slow ass time opening up, looking through every file, pulls it out, puts it back in, pulls out the right one, closes it, saunters right back over, gives it to him. Of course, the cop just like rips it out of his hand. He's like, was that too hard?
Yeah.
And then leaves. Obviously, it was frustrating. In that moment, it doesn't feel like a victory. It never feels like a victory, but you know in the long term.
But it's like a little, it's that little thing you need to stay sane.
Yeah, and it's those little moments. Like, that's what we have to, I think that's what's hard for us as humans. Like, it's only upon retrospect that you see your victories. It's, you want the victories to be big and kind of like,
but nothing.
You want to
really
know
is.
that in the future what you did was of purpose, but it's only when you look back you go, oh, it was those small things that built up. And that's how I saw it. It's kind of a sad ending. It's not exactly like, you're absolutely right. They're going back to work the next day. They have to. That whole economy of that island is based upon, like, it doesn't just get overthrown in a day. This isn't a Star Wars film where you shoot down, one person and they all die. Like, unfortunately. But it's a mini victory, and historically, that's more appropriate for like what Donald was going for. But I know I do get you. I get how that would not be like,
it's discouraging for me.
It is, but like,
I
that's
just
life.
like, if we were gonna have like a small victory, then maybe we could have kept Donald alive to see his kid,
Yeah,
but
that
like
never
he
happens.
he died, doesn't even know he's having a kid, and then like,
That's sad.
Yeah, and like
That's sad.
Well, honestly, like I think that's less sad than him knowing he had a kid and then.
But then he
dying.
could have at least loved that kid for a second.
I just why put that on somebody's mind before they die? Like why give them that last thought of I'll never see my child before they die?
That's true.
Like I feel like the second of him knowing that he has a kid and being, I guess maybe the happiness of that is worth like the.
You went really sad.
Yeah, I was like, it's the exact opposite of like I don't think it's worth having that last thought of like I'll never watch my baby, like I'll never meet my child. So I'm like, I don't think he didn't need to know necessarily.
No, he didn't need to.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been preferred that he lived, but he didn't. So
yeah. It's not my story, clearly.
And this final moment that we're at the funeral, everyone's in the crowd. They're all in the streets. They're all dressed in blue. They're taking him away.
I know that there's like, it's like a cultural thing where like people celebrate death.
Yeah. Well, they're not celebrating death. They're celebrating the life.
Yeah, like, no. I know that there's where they celebrate just in general for a funeral. Like New Orleans does that.
Right.
Where, like, you don't have a sad funeral. You have, like, a happy one.
I would want that to be my funeral.
I just, like, I wasn't ready for that yet. Like, I was still, like, reeling from the fact that I just watched our main character get shot.
Right.
So I was just kind of like, I'm not, like, in the party mood, you guys. Like, I'm glad. I was like, I'm glad you're happy, but also, like, stop it.
Well, that's a very American kind of
like it is
mindset, and it's either or, like,
But for them that was great. That was triumphant. So I'm like,
I'd much prefer a happy funeral.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't.
I want people to cry from how happy they are
that you're dead.
Not that
I want a mass suicide at my funeral. I want
Don't
everybody
say
to be all
that.
like, take us with you. And then they'll all drink the Kool-Aid and come with me.
That's so dark.
I'm going to show up with a posse. Like, I'm going to be
Wow.
all like, here's me and here's all my friends.
You're-
So, just kidding.
I'm debating editing that out, but I'm gonna leave it in
For
just
now.
so people know
The
what they're listening
extent
to.
of the petty.
That yes,
When I
even
go,
in death,
we all
even
go.
in death, you are a petty motherfucker. Why are we friends again? So before we end, what did it do right? Oh, no, we can't end on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There's one thing.
There's one big thing we need to talk about, and that is Rihanna in blue. She looked like
Queen
a
Rihanna.
goddess.
Yes, she did.
She's not Queen Rihanna because that spot is taken by Beyonce, but she looked like
You
a
only
queen.
have enough room for one woman to be queen? We can have multiple queens.
I guess she'll be queen of a different territory.
She's queen of Guava Island is what she is.
But yeah, she came through rocking that blue hard. She
goodness.
straight up looked like a goddess.
She
but-
was so beautiful. That Nigerian gili, I believe, is how it's pronounced. It was beautiful. The design, the whole town's design was beautiful, and of course, that was just like the crown on top, not the
pinnacle,
crown,
yeah.
the star on top of the tree. And this was the second moment in which the whole screen lit up. It might have been more moments. I missed the opening animation the first time I saw it because I was late running halfway across the Coachella field. But this was the second moment that I saw where the whole screen lit up, and you actually saw the people walk out in animated form,
wow.
and then you actually could follow Coffee into the animated world. It was beautiful.
That's
it was
crazy.
and so as the music's playing triumphantly, then the whole screen lights up. It felt so much longer than the movie I just watched on the TV. So I'm wondering if there was it was a longer cut.
Yeah.
Because it definitely that felt so I was sitting there looking around just in awe of this whole screen just lighting up. And it's something that no one else is ever going to be able to experience. And I'm sitting there taking it in. It felt like forever, or at least felt like a solid 2 minutes, and in reality that scene goes by like that.
Well, it felt like a pretty long scene to me too.
Did it really?
So it's probably just when you're in that at the end of it for the first time, at least, that
amazing.
you're just very much like, wow. But there is a very important line at the very end, which you actually can't hear, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
I didn't completely understand what she said, but she said what? You saw it 3 times. What'd she say?
We had our day.
Yeah. She said we had our day. And the way she said it, it was so strong and it was so powerful.
Yeah, she looked him right in the eye and was like,
but
bitch, please.
Did she said we had our days, and so we got our festival, we got our day off?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure because like you said,
like-
because it's not like she had an accent that was hard to hear. It just was really
yeah.
loud.
Yeah, it was really loud. It was like we were literally at a concert.
So now we can, what do you think it did right? Obviously, you clearly thought Rihanna did it right.
I think it did a good job of showing a realistic situation with a realistic outcome.
Yeah, as fantastical as the movie was.
Yeah.
It definitely was very.
It was real.
Yeah. I felt the music. I felt like I felt like the music was literally its own character. There wasn't so much as a plot line as there was just kind of like this tapestry. The plot served more as a tapestry to show off the music, to show off the people, show off the set design. And I felt like that was very successful. One thing I really liked, I felt like I knew these people. Yeah. How many times do we watch like a superhero film where they're like, we have to save the world? And it's almost like the only thing that's connecting you is your inherent understanding of like
the world.
humans in general.
That's true.
But
We
when it
did
comes to the
see,
film, the films usually never do put any effort into making the people feel real.
Yeah.
It's just like this blank, faceless canvas of like, this is the people we have to save. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas like, like the original Spider-Man, when it's like, you mess with one of us, you mess with. I mean, as cheesy as it is,
No, that was amazing.
It's
I
New
love
York.
that. Like I don't feel things, but when I do, it's for moments like that.
So anytime that a film, because I always think this when I'm watching a movie, how can you make me care?
Yeah.
Don't rely on any other film. Don't rely on my knowledge of humans, because you don't know if I'm in the audience, if I give a shit about people in general.
Some people hate people.
So you have to, as a film, you have to like, if you're going to make a movie where the stakes are humanity is going to die, show me that humanity. Don't just have a bunch of people in one room and everyone off away and it not mean anything. The only time I felt like that was significantly done on purpose was The Favorite, which we watched. It was all about war, and yet you never see the people.
Because it was very much about like, oh, we're in war and people are dying, but we're kind of sniffing our own shit right now.
We don't give a crap.
And
that works. That was like one of the instances where it's like it works. You don't need to see the people because they are faceless to the characters.
And that was definitely like the whole problem with that era of like the bourgeoisie and Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
They're like, we're out here dying and you're having cake.
Yeah. Whereas like I just need a film to put legwork into making me care. I care. I'm empathetic. I will cry because the music tells me to cry. It doesn't mean that when I leave the theater I think the film was good.
Yeah.
So I need a film to really make me care about the audience and like not the audience. I need the film to make me care about the world, the population. And even on a small level, I felt like Guava Island did a good job of being like, these are humans.
Yeah.
So like at the end I was like, oh, I was happy because they showed the few characters we actually met, they showed their faces in the audience, and
it was just a very human experience in general. Just like everybody that you met, you could tell that there was a genuine like love and connection, and like everybody was just dealing with the same thing, you know? Like, nobody was in their own world. Like, it wasn't like, oh, my family, my space, your space. Everybody was like, this is our job. This is what we're dealing with. Like, we're gonna have fun in the midst of this. Like, I'm gonna dance, and I'm gonna get everybody to dance with me in the middle of the sewing shop when the person with the gun leaves. Because it's kind of like, it just puts you in that mindset of, like, we're all in this together. But, like, seriously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's very different from an American culture, which is like, I mean, you know, there's certain cultures like they share everything. Like, you got a baby, the whole town's got the baby. Like, they're all holding that thing. They're all, you know, taking care of it.
Like how her baby was at work every day. It's just like messing shit up. But it's like, yeah, that's our kid, you know? That's little Tommy. He's always here.
Yeah, that was his name.
I was like, it's definitely Tommy. He's definitely always around messing shit up.
So that was something that I definitely felt they did right in the film. Was I cared about they did really good at world building.
Yeah.
And I understood their world. I liked it. I loved the energy. And honestly, my final thoughts on it, just like, it felt like a weird mini vacation, albeit a sad
a sad mini vacation.
Melancholy vacation, but a vacation nonetheless.
I was like, the only part where I felt like slightly on vacation where it was
summertime.
The song he sang to her, but just at the very end of it when they were standing on the dock, and I was like, they are in kind of a pretty place. Like, that should be like a sweet vacation for them, and it's just like not.
No,
it sucks.
It does suck, but you know. I think, and so I guess the question is, like, is there an impact that you like think that it leaves in some sort? Does it do anything to help the future? Does it do anything to help people like that, or is it just a?
I'm trying to think of if it's like, I feel like the culture or the impact would be like beyond America. Like, I feel like obviously there are things that Americans can look and take from it, but I think that obviously it's more straightforwardly to like a different like culture than us.
I mean, the only thing I can ever say about films like this, I'm going to end on kind of this like really interesting different story. So Coachella is a huge event, and a huge event like Coachella takes it takes a village to make this happen.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people in a lot of different departments making this job work. One of the numerous things you would never even think about is security.
Yeah,
you need a lot of security at an event like Coachella, and there's this company that hires these people to show up, and they stay out there, and they're the security for the 3 weekends for Coachella weeks 1 and 2 and Stagecoach. They work all other festivals as well, and this company, they hire it's a lot of low income, a lot of minority people who people who like need a job where like anybody can kind of like get accepted. And you have like a wide variety of these different types of cultures of people working, and they're basically like they're working in really intense conditions behind the scenes. Not a lot of information is given to them. They basically are just like, don't let certain people in. Yes, let other people in. And it's a very intense job. I don't know how much they get paid. I know for a lot of the people that I met who worked in security, like it was kind of one of their biggest sources of income, and it was something like, you know, I knew some people who like had like multiple jobs, but this is the one that they did to like support their family. And I couldn't help but start realizing, like, and the sad thing was, like, a lot of these people, they're not treated the best. They're not put up in homes like we were. They were not they don't get to eat at catering the way we get to eat at catering.
Yeah.
So there would be some times where I had some people walking up to me, and we work in hospitality, and we only have enough food for like the artists.
Yeah.
And they'd be walking up and they're like, oh, can we have some of this? Can we have some of that? Some people were sincere. Some people were a little, like, you'd be like annoyed by it. You're like, and you want to wave them off. And I started noticing like halfway through the second week, I was like, oh my God, these are like how easy it is to turn a certain group of people off. Yeah. Now, like I said, like a lot of them were minority, but it's not all of them. But the general feeling was the security. It was easy to kind of like
brush them off.
Because you're like, I can't deal with that. I don't have the resources to deal with that. I don't have the circumstances that they're dealing with, so I don't need to think about it.
Yeah.
But when you do think about it, you're like, oh my God, they're working out here in the blazing heat. They're basically staying in tents.
Yeah.
They're not getting the food that we get to eat. They're not getting the showers that we get to shower. And it's like, I don't want to be as dramatic to say it's like modern day slavery, but there's this uncomfortable feeling of like, we are celebrating and having fun off the backs of people who are like
busting their ass.
Who we don't know how much they're getting paid. Some of them, it's like, and it was one of those things where like everyone loves to look at movies about racism, and they love to think, I would never be like that. Now, we've dealt with modern day prejudice. We've dealt with like modern day little things that we have to deal with, but everyone likes to think that in the grand scheme of things, they'd be like, well, maybe I'd say like a racist thing here or there, but I would never condone slavery. It's like, yeah, everyone, it's easy to say that. But one thing I even noticed with these people, like the security people, was that how easy it was that if I didn't have to deal with it, I didn't want to deal with it. Yeah. If I didn't have the food, like if they'd be like, oh, can I have some water? I'd be like, as a human who says who cares about people, it was interesting how fast it's just like, I don't know how to deal with it, so I'm not going to deal with it.
Yeah, like this isn't a part of me, this isn't anything I have to deal with, so I'm not going to.
And I had to force myself to be like, oh my gosh, like no, just because like, and you have to find the little moments where you can, you don't always have the resources. Like it wasn't like we were being cruel. We just, that job, it was literally there for the people, the artists, so we only had enough food for them sometimes. But you find yourself, when you actually put effort into thinking about people beyond yourself, you're like, okay, you might be frustrated how they, like, some people say, oh, you can't come back beyond this point. You're like, ugh. Then you remember, like, oh God, like you're just out here in the heat. You don't know everything that's going on because they haven't told you. You don't know that I'm supposed to actually go past here. I can't get mad at you initially. You don't know my story. I don't know your story. And it's like the daily choices you have to make to understand somebody's story and to understand the grander scheme of things. And for me, while I don't know what the larger impact is for culture, I know films like this have they've been little things that kind of like help me start realizing like there's a world out there that I don't know. Yeah. And I will never know. I will never understand fully what's going on, but it helps me start putting faces to the mass. And that's the problem. It's like, yeah, you have one friend that you care about. If he's having a hard time, you take care of them. Yeah. That's easy. But when it's like a whole mass of people and they present like this problem that you don't know how to deal with, like, oh, I don't have enough food.
You don't even know where to start.
For the security. You don't know how to start, and you don't really have a connection per se, other than just like a few faces you recognize. You're like, oh, hey, like, but you have to to put faces and to put stories to the masses and realize like those are people who are going through things that I don't know about. They're not given the same circumstances or opportunities as me. And for me, like films like this, they help in that area where it's just like just small reminders, like on top of the ones that I try to do with the people that I know, or like going to church, or like on top of that, if pop culture is also helping people realize there are stories beyond yours,
pop culture,
then I think ultimately that's like those little mini victories, and then that helps you to help somebody else out, and that helps you to understand somebody else. I don't know.
That's a great way to see it. That opened my eyes a little bit more on how to look at the impact of this and what it means and what it's trying to do.
Yeah, and it's just one. I mean, who knows what their ultimate goal was with it?
Many.
I mean, honestly, for a film that's anti-capitalistic, like, did they give their proceeds to a nonprofit organization? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but also, it was like released on Amazon Prime for only Amazon Prime members. So
Right.
clearly they're not trying to make that much money off of it.
Yeah,
like,
but what I'm saying is like we never know what the behind the scenes reasons are, but like for me it left good enough. Like it was just another little notch in that belt of like, hey, remember there's just a world out there you don't understand. You know,
there's more.
So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Well, that was like 50 cents.
It was 50 cents worth of information. Well, anything you want to say to wrap this up?
Just, like we're all saying all this stuff, but at the end of the day, it's the end of the day. And
the day is over.
Because it's the end of the day.
All right. Well, you know what, guys? This has been a great podcast. It's something that we've been thinking about for a while. This one episode, we were gone for a little bit, but you guys are going to have the benefit of hearing these all on our launch day.
Yes, I like that you were just putting that all on us. You were gone. You were thinking about this episode for a while.
I was.
I've been thinking about other episodes, but
right. Well, I mean, and the great thing is for you get to benefit that all the work is there. We'll have a few episodes for you to listen to on launch day, but you can always tune in every Wednesday wherever you listen or watch your podcasts.
Exactly.
Remember, you can follow us at Pink Popcast.
That is Popcast.
Pop with a P. On Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. All the things. That's what we're going to be on.
I'm trying to think of more things that we're on. Everything.
I'm trying to get on Twitch.
On Twitch.
God, I feel like such an old man trying to figure out. Like,
I know.
I'm like, what's next?
I'm not that old. I'm only 22. Like, what? Oh my God. What? Stop looking at me.
All right. My 22-year-old co-host here. Be sure to subscribe to us on the Apple Podcasts.
And make sure to leave a rating and a review.
Yeah, that will help us get on the new and noteworthy.
Yes.
And helps us grow an audience.
Yeah, and then anywhere else you listen to your podcast, just, listen to it. I want us to be on, like, Pandora.
Yeah.
Or Pandora and not iHeartRadio.
You want to be on iHeartRadio.
Are the ones that I want us to be on because I listen to Pandora and I also
you don't have an iPhone.
Yeah, and I also listen to the radio, so I know that they advertise iHeartRadio. So those are the two that I'm like, those are important, but also like I feel like most podcast people listen on iTunes or Spotify, and that's like the main two for that.
Oh yeah.
So
we're doing our best to give you content that you can appreciate. So if you like it, share the love. Let us know.
And let us know if there's any movies or anything you want us to talk about.
Yeah, we will be very interactive with our audience, maybe, if we like them.
We will make sure we read our most hateful and our most loving comments.
That is such a weird thing. All right, well, then from all of us here
at the podcast. What are you doing?
No, from all of us here, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink.
How did we really both just do that so seriously?
This is why we do a thing together. Okay, play us out, future Josiah.